Today's episode of Off the Timeline is titled, What If Troy Aikman Chose Michigan Instead of UCLA? What if I told you one quarterback transfer in 1986 could have forced the Big Ten to abandon its identity and pushed the Pac-10 to reinvent itself a full decade early? Not a dynasty, not a super team, but one decision. In our real timeline, Troy Aikman transfers from Oklahoma to UCLA, but in this alternate timeline, he chooses Michigan instead. And by 1988, you're looking at two conferences that barely resemble what we remember. Now let's set things up first. Aikman's path starts the same. Oklahoma, injury, lost a starting job. But the transfer portal didn't exist yet. This was chaos behind the scenes. In real life, UCLA wins that battle. In this alternate timeline, Michigan does. And it's not just about talent, it's about timing. Because Bo Schembechler is nearing the end and staring at a sport that's starting to pass him by. And that sets the table for the decision. Michigan doesn't just take Aikman, they quietly change everything around him. A forward look progressive quarterback coach is brought in. The passing game gets expanded. The locker room splits between this isn't Michigan and this is the future. This is not a rebuild, it's a controlled identity crisis. And that sets the table for the breakout. By 1987, things look awkward on the field. By 1988, it looks like a glitch in the system. Michigan is throwing more than anyone in the Big Ten, stretching defenses horizontally and vertically. And teams built to stop the run have no answer, and Michigan goes undefeated. And suddenly the Big Ten has a problem because this all worked. And that sets the table for the Big Ten breaking first. The conference doesn't evolve slowly, it splits. Programs like Ohio State and Iowa are forced to react immediately by recruiting faster defensive backs, adjusting schemes, and experimenting with passing concepts. This is a closed system being disrupted from the inside. By 1989, you have two versions of the Big Ten, the old guard and the programs trying to catch Michigan. And that sets the table for the Pac-10, which doesn't fall but mutates. Meanwhile, UCLA loses Aikman in this alternate universe, and instead of replacing him, they pivot hard. More mobility, faster tempo, space-based offense. They don't become worse, they become different. And that difference spreads, because now the Pac-10 isn't chasing Michigan's idea, it's building its own response. And that sets the table for the game that should not exist. 1988 Rose Bowl. Michigan versus UCLA. But this isn't just the Big Ten versus the Pac-10. This is the quarterback who changed the Midwest versus the system that was born because he didn't come to UCLA. Aikman versus the future UCLA created without him. Structure versus chaos. Control versus speed. And for one game, it feels like you're watching football from two different decades all at the same time. And that sets the table for the aftermath. Michigan wins, and that's the moment everything locks in. The Big Ten modernizes earlier than it ever did in real life. The idea of a Michigan offense permanently changes. Aikman enters the NFL as a prototype, not a product. But UCLA doesn't fade. They become the seed of something else, something that looks a lot like what college football becomes in the 2000s. And as it all unfolds, there are whispers about how Michigan pulled this off, about recruiting advantages, about whether this evolution was entirely organic. Nothing's proven, but there's just enough rumors and whispers to keep the conversation alive. Because sometimes college football doesn't change because of championships, it changes because one decision forces everyone else to react. And in this alternate timeline, the Big Ten reacts first, the Pac-10 reacts differently, and the sport we know today arrives a lot sooner than it was supposed to. Now, if you enjoyed this off the timeline alternate college football universe, like, subscribe, and comment. Which conference actually won this timeline? The Big Ten that adapted or the Pac-10 that evolved? And if you want more what if college football scenarios like this, you're in the right place. And I will see you in the next timeline.